After 6 rounds of competition, the 2019 Formula Drift Black Magic Championship is quickly headed to a conclusion. All season long, the fight has been a back-and-forth battle. Frederick Osbo, James Dean, Peter Vincek, Odi Bakchis, Ryan Turk, and Chris Forsberg are all within 80 points of each other. Simply put, this is the closest championship battle in FD history. Now the series turns to the Lone Star State and Texas Motor Speedway, a nighttime event that is a big challenge for all drivers. This is the last stop until the finale at Irwindale that drivers have to collect valuable championship points. Who will come out on top in Texas? Let's find out, only on the Formula Drift Black Magic Championship.
Hello Drift fans and welcome to Texas Motor Speedway, the Lone Star State, playing host to round 7 of 8 of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship. Frederick Osbo leads the pack in the point standings with James the Machine Dean sitting in second.
This is the closest championship chase that we've had at any point in the 16 years.
Hello Drift fans and welcome to Texas Motor Speedway, playing host to the Advanced Auto Parts Showdown presented by Rain-X. This means this is round 7 of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship. This is also the final round of the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship, meaning we will have a 2019 Pro 2 champion. I'm Jared Deanna. Joining me once again is Ryan Sage. Ryan, the forecast coming in here, I was a little nervous. Sometimes we get cold weather. We got rain here before, but this weekend seems to be dry and hot. Not ideal when you're in the cockpit, but ideal for drifting.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely steamy out here. You can see we're kind of glistening, but the sun is in a perfect position right now to give us a good set of qualifying. And this will be the second to last qualifying of the year. Very important given the championship. We'll go through the standings a little bit later, but it's worth noting out of the gate here that this is the closest battle for the championship that we've ever seen historically. There are at least 6 drivers that are within 100 points that could potentially win the championship, and I think that's why this round is so important, because it tees up what's going to happen at Irwindale.
And again, we say it every year, it just can't get any closer, and it really does, and we'll get to the standings here in a minute, but I mean, some drivers are separated by 1 point, so very crucial here. This course, I'm really excited to see this course. You know, we made some modifications from St. Louis. Let's take a look back at St. Louis. You know, it was the fastest track, and then it got really technical, very deceiving. That final battle, Osbo, James Dean.
Well, this was a crazy event, was it not? We saw so many interesting things happen, not only in qualifying top 32, but all the way down to the finals. And the story right now, just in front of us, really is about James Dean, Frederick Osbo. Osbo is your current leader in the championship, but Dean has come on very strong in the second half of the season. He takes the win here against Osbo, closes the gap to 1 point. Yep. Are you kidding me? 1 point in the championship. And that means really the championship focus will be on them. But we have to remember that there are so many other drivers in the top 6 that have a mathematical chance. So we're going to be watching Osbo, Dean, Bakchis, Ryan Turk, Chris Forsberg, those guys, to see where they finish up this round at Texas.
And again, the course has changed from last year to this year. It's a very fast course. It's just one big sweeping outside zone into another outside zone, then finally a front clip, and then another outer zone. So this is going to make for some really exciting driving here. Let's take a look at those stands. We talked about it. 1 point being separated between our leader, Frederick Osbo, and as you say, a surging James Dean. Didn't get the right start on the right foot in Long Beach, but now just coming on strong in the latter portion of the year. Right behind him, you got Piotr Visick, his Wordhouse Drift Team teammate, Odi Bakchis, who started off, looked like he was the guy to beat, had some problems here and there, but now is really picking up. Ryan Turk, who also started off the season probably the worst, totaling his car in Long Beach, and he's in contention for the championship. 71 points. He would need a lot of mistakes to happen and unfold in front of him. Well, Ryan, we're going to bring in another portion of our team, talking about one of our 3 judges, Ryan Lontaine. But before we bring in Ryan Lontaine, I throw it over to a JE Pistons Tech Talk with Robin Ishida.
Hey, this is Robin Ishida here with Federico Sherifos.
Hi, guys.
Ferrari at his
Robin.
pit. I know, you've been in the series for a little bit.
Yep.
And it's a Ferrari. I know
Yep.
it's very different, but I just want to get down to how different is it compared to other cars? Like, what's the biggest difference that you have compared to all your other competitors?
Well, I do believe that she has a few characteristics that are very unique. Let's start from the chassis that doesn't have any subframes. So all the lower upper arms are attached directly to the chassis, right? She's really thin as a structure of the car, right? The other main thing is that I feel double the angle of everybody. So sometimes I feel like, oh, you're going on a spin. No, it's not. That means it's fine. Let's go. I'm just getting used to her. Well, the engine from OEM starts just behind the wheelbase. That's a big difference. Also with the weight distribution and everything. Plus, she's Fiorella. She's different. She's special.
Well, you got it. Those are the things that are a little bit different or very different from all these other competitors, but check them out. I know you're doing great.
Thank you.
Car looks great.
Thank you so
It's
much.
a Ferrari. Come on now,
Yes,
right?
it's a Ferrari and I have to do the job. I have a lot of pressure, She doesn't go by herself. You have to drive her even if it's a Ferrari, but fine.
Nice, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we're back here with Judge Ryan Lontaine. Will be joining us in the booth from time to time. Now, Ryan, it's hot and steamy out here. It's going to be very challenging for the drivers. But what do we have on tap today for our event format?
Well, today's qualifying, Ryan, so each driver is going to get 2 non-consecutive scored runs, and after those 2 scored runs, they're going to keep the higher of the 2 scores. Any of the ties that we have are going to be broken according to the lower qualifying score first.
Let's take a look at the track map and the points allocation for line and angle, and we'll talk a little bit about style. This is a new track layout, relatively speaking. We've gotten rid of the inside clip. But why don't you break down some of the details of what the fans should really be looking for in this new layout?
The major changes are right at the beginning. The initiation area has been pushed back further, and we also have that new outside zone 1 that was not there in the past. So instead of going kind of wide at initiation and into an inside clip and then outside zone 2, we now have a big outside zone 1 for the drivers to fill, and that's making this track a lot faster. So the speeds that they're carrying through from outside zone 1 through to outside zone 2 and 3 are much higher, and it's allowing for them to actually fill the same outside zone 3 as last year, despite getting that outside zone 2 much earlier. So speeds are higher, the commitment levels are way higher here as well, and the rest of the course is essentially the same. Inside clip 1's been moved maybe 5 feet earlier, nothing too major there, and the rest of the course, as you see, is broken up into 6 sectors, 5 points each for a total of 30 for line and angle, and then of course style, we have 40 points there. Now, this is the decel map. You can see that we only have 2 decel areas. Again, very similar to last year. The only difference is that first decel area is pushed later because the whole initiation has been pushed later to account for that outside zone 1 area. So the major problem we're seeing with drivers right now is them slowing down an inside clip 1. It's very difficult to get the car set properly around outside zone 3 to get around inside clip 1 without grabbing handbrake, maybe lifting off the throttle or left foot braking. And that's a big area for deductions, especially for me since I'm the style judge, and it's been made very clear to the drivers and spotters, and they're trying to get their drivers around there cleanly right now.
Inside clip 1, obviously very important for setting up the last outside zone before we get to the final inside clip. And I have to imagine that the fluidity and commitment are going to be important there. So let's talk a little bit about style.
So style, like you said, fluidity and commitment are worth 20 points each. And fluidity deals with the rotation of the car on its own axis. So how well the car is initiating, how quickly, how accurately, and how smoothly the drivers are getting to angle there. And also during the transitions throughout the course. Now the big area is, like you said, coming from inside clip 1 to outside zone 4. On commitment, that's where the majority of my deductions have been coming in on the Pro 2 side and will come in on the Pro side as well. So watching the drivers lift there, handbrake, left foot brake, big deductions on points. And if they're slowing before they rotate the car for outside zone 4, also a big deduction there as well. We want to make sure that the drivers are rotating the car to the right angle for outside zone 4 before they slow down. Now, what we're seeing as errors are handbrake pulls, left foot brakes, and just generally slowing the car as it rotates. And that's not good either. You want to get the car rotated and then slow down.
While we're talking about mistakes, let's move right along to the official incompletes. We also saw you guys give some incompletes for unchaseable leads last night in qualifying, so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the incompletes here are very basic for the qualifying side. You see the 3 that are there, spinning out opposite drift and anything latchable opening on the car during that run. Of course, a major straight is an incomplete. 3 wheels off is an incomplete. But we also have big deductions for 2 wheels off, 1 wheel off, and again, that aforementioned slow down or brake pull at inside clip number.
All right, well, thank you, Ryan, for breaking that down for us. You are watching the Advanced Auto Parts Showdown presented by Permatex. And up next, we've got qualifying for the Pro class.
How we doing, everybody out there? Thanks for letting me know that we are going live, and we are here with our first driver here in Pro qualifying. Yesterday and last night we saw Pro 2 qualifying, but we had to end it because not enough lights were on the power alley, as we've been calling it for numerous years. But this course, very fast. It's going to be really exciting, and this is just shaping things up for Pro, which game day is tomorrow for round 7 of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship. And again, this evening we are going to be seeing, and just in a little bit, we're going to be seeing the remaining drivers in Pro 2 qualifying going into Pro 2, the final round to find out who will be our 2019 Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. But right now, all eyes are on Pro qualifying. Kick things off with Sebastien Gauthier from Quebec City. That is in Canada. It's in the SSG Motorsports S14. It's like kind of changed up the livery, the graphics. Got a Nitrous Express logo there, and happy to see Mr. Gauthier back in the mix. Ryan, I'm seeing here that we have 33 drivers on the list, but I can tell you that unfortunately we don't have, who is it? Is Kaufman on here? Yes, he is. So Matt Kaufman will be a scratch for the event. I don't know if you saw his post. Very unfortunate for him. Broke his arm and broke also a finger. So Matteo, hopefully you're feeling better. Sorry that you definitely endured that. Also, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Alec Honadell. I know he's still under the weather. He's dealing with just a lot of major issues from a previous kind of a medical issue. But Alec, our hearts are with you. Hopefully you get better. Sebastien Gauthier, our first driver here in Pro qualifying, sends it out there, really stepping out, big angle, minimal corrections, if any at all, out to that second outer zone, filling all of it. Nice job, Gauthier. Whips it into the third outer zone. There's the first inner clip. Now remember, 2-point deduction if you knock that over. If you just glance at 5 points, and that'll be a full 5 points if you knock it over. Man, what a great way to start Pro qualifying, Ryan. That was a very good indication of what is to come.
Yeah, and thanks for pointing out about the point deductions that the judges have given for those inside clip hits. You'll see the paint on the ground on that first outside zone, very clear to see with not a lot of rubber laid down on top of it just yet because it's been repainted. There's the third outside zone, the inside clip that you mentioned. Gauthier on that first outside zone and that third outside zone, a little bit on the inside here. In terms of the fluidity, the commitment looked pretty strong, but he definitely will receive some line point deductions and perhaps a bit of angle as well, not being able to max it out by going as wide as he possibly could.
That power alley, I think that's going to be the real deciding factor, just going off what we saw in Pro 2, that transition from that second outer zone into that third outer zone, really kind of maxing that out. And also, I think this is, would you agree that this is an opportunity for the spotters and other drivers to really focus in on it and see what's going to unfold and what's going to transpire in head-to-head? Yeah,
no question about it. I mean, I think there's been already a lot learned about this track, and we'll certainly be able to learn a lot more as the competition goes on and more drivers lay down, different runs. From what I've heard from most everybody, driver-wise, is that they like this track layout much better.
Yeah, and why was the track modified or changed from previous years to now this year? And we've seen different kind of layouts over the years.
Yeah, well, I think one of the big reasons is after the initiation, and we got a 77 here for Sebastien Gauthier.
A 77, Sebastien Gauthier, again a 77.
One of the main reasons was there was an inside clip right after initiation, and we were seeing a lot of guys get bunched up there. And if they got bunched up and there was some separation, it really did hurt the head-to-head competition. So decided to get rid of the inside clips, focus more on the outside zone, and we think that that's going to be better overall.
The flow already is flowing. Here we go, Joao Berrillon, and we've seen him come and make some points of interest here in the previous rounds of competition, but glad to see him back here at Formula Drift competition behind the wheel of that Corvette C7 into that last and final outer zone, getting all the way out there. Really big angle from him. Oh, but then he comes undone. So that was a level of compromise he needed to make. Ryan, I really want you to point out where he went beyond where he needed to go. He got into the rumble strips, but Joao Berrillon from Brazil.
Well, some things I really did like about his run is he really did adhere to the decel zone, and he does fill that first outside zone really well. And remember, the judges do allow the tires to get out to the edge of the course before the rumble strip. Here's where you can see he's going to be off throttle here. That's another decel zone. Just gonna fill that zone really well, but push a little bit too wide here, and he makes an adjustment. We saw that last night with Kelsey Rawlings. That was not as extreme. This will for sure be a judged run, but the judges are very much focused on making sure that the drivers, even in their qualifying runs, are running what they would call a chaseable lead.
The point that I wanted to make, I don't know if you caught it, but basically on that third outer zone, the only wall in the course, the judges specified in the driver's meeting, it's, one, two, three, four, right? Okay, so the final outside zone, that outer zone, they don't need to go beyond into the rumble strips. That's why I say Joao went deeper than he needed to go, and that might have thrown him off because he had so much angle at it. But I just want to point that out, and you'll see it again. But looked like Joao got into the rumble strips.
And that's going to be okay. The judges said that is okay. They just don't want you to go into the tire wall, obviously. And he did receive a good score here. it's hard to really know with this new layout where the scores are gonna lay down for these top 33 drivers, 32 drivers. We're assuming that everybody is going to get a scored run, and we'll have a full field of competition for tomorrow. But we still have a lot of drivers to go.
And the heat and the conditions and the elements, right? So Kyle Mohan up next. Yeah, so we officially have 32 drivers. That's if everybody that showed up is running. So Kyle Mohan here, American Ethanol, Mazda Trix, Mazda RX-8. Johnny FPV rejoining us here at round 7 of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship. Kyle Mohan, nasty flick there. Look at filling all of it, just barely passing by that front clip. See, that's what I was talking about. As you said, it just said you can go that deep. It's not necessary. Just about that third hash mark on that final front clip and that finish line. I like that final front clip at the finish line because that shows you're going to have to commit and power and drive all the way through.
Yeah, I do too. And if it has to be anywhere, I think at the end is pretty good. Now let's take a look. Mohan gets on throttle a little bit late there, but he does fill that outside zone. Let's see how he does here on outside zone 2. Pretty good right at the edge of the course. Now he's going to transfer over to the other side. Pretty solid run being laid down here. Maybe a little bit more angle would be great, but he fills these zones really well there. And now as he shoots toward this final inside clip, he's just going to be off that third hash mark a little bit. Here you get to see just how tight this actually is. Now remember, Jared, we've actually extended the width of this track over the years in that section, giving the drivers a little bit more breathing room, but nonetheless, it is still a very challenging part of the course. And by the end of the weekend, no question, we'll see a few drivers go off in those areas.
Yeah, we've seen the ruts be created, remember, in years like, was it Nate Hamilton, Vaughn Gittin Jr.? I mean, that wall, the only wall here in this course, you know, right in front of the stands, has claimed some victims of vehicles. Fortunately, not people, but actually vehicles. But Mad Mike, Vaughn Gittin Jr., they went really hard on that wall. So as kind of unassuming as it looks, it's still a very difficult track. 82 and 82 there for Kyle Mohan on his first run. Mr. Meeks, Austin Meeks here in his Ferocious Motorsports Nexen Tire Cadillac ATS-V from South Carolina. And here we go. All right, Austin Meeks throws it in. He was looking very fast in practice. Let's see if he can continue that. You can see that just whizzing past that third outer zone, and just as he takes out that front clip, looks like he comes up quite a bit short there on that final outer zone. Does tighten it up to the final front clip, but Ryan, some line points will be deducted.
Well, we talked a little bit last night about whether or not a driver that knows he's going to hit that inside clip should kind of drive around it, take the deduction on the line that way, or just go right through it. I think the better way may be doing it the way that Austin did. He kind of committed to this line and went through it, but he still was not able to reach out to that final outside zone. We have seen a lot of drivers try to wiggle around that inside clip, and then it messes them up for the final outside zone and the line portion of that. So Meeks leaving a few points on the table there, but just needing to get a score to make it into the top 32.
So the elements here, it is definitely a beautiful day, and but with that comes the heat, and that will be an element for a lot of these drivers. Looks like we're going to be seeing a high of 93. That's later this afternoon. As Austin Meeks awaits his score, the Ferocious Motorsports, Fortune Auto, Nexen Tire, Cadillac ATS-V, 74. So quite a big point deduction there, Ryan Sage.
No, I was just talking a little bit to Ryan Lantini. I also wanted to point out that in that particular area of the course, that first inside clip, one of the other issues that Austin had there is he lifted.
Yeah.
And that is a kind of a double whammy. And the judges really did focus a lot of attention on the decel map and really saying, look, there's really only 2 places on this course that you should decel. The first is at initiation, and the second one is right before outside zone 4 as you prepare to get into that area of the course. So we'll be watching for throttle control, how much the drivers are aggressively getting through this course, and whether or not they're really feathering the throttle appropriately, or they're mashed all the way down being aggressive.
Here we go, Kevin Lawrence in this RB-powered S14.3 coming to us from Florida. Kevin Lawrence saw some great drive from him at our previous round of competition. Out to that second outer zone, into the third, through that power alley. Again, taking out that front clip. Seen that smoke trail, indication that he was on throttle, but we'll take a look at it again. Oh, that's unchaseable. Yeah, that's an incomplete. So that you know, just shutting it down right before the finish line. So K-Law now we'll have to step up on a second run, Ryan.
Well, it looked like the first part of the course he
Yeah.
actually had pretty dialed, and he gets through that first outside zone well. The second outside zone just a little bit on the inside. The third outside zone, he was also a little bit on the inside. He lifts a little bit right there like Meeks did. He is able to fill that final outside zone, but you can see, see how the smoke line kind of diminished after he left that zone, not able to get back on throttle. So something happened there. He does almost center punch that inside clip, fills this zone out, and it looks like right there he may have broken something and was not able to finish the run as he goes straight through the finish line.
Yeah, really unfortunate. I mean, as you say, he lifted. It seemed like it was right after and going into that final outer zone. But you know, you have to think he's panicking. He's like, oh man, like that wall comes at you very quick, especially when you punt that front clip. So all things combined, it's not an easy course. So there it is. It's official. An incomplete run there for Kevin Lawrence is a Juku Racing BC Racing S14.3. That'll be incomplete. So on his second run, it'll be essential and necessary that he gets a score.
And did you report Federico as well?
I did not. What's up?
We were hearing note that Federico Sharifo is going to miss his first run as well. Okay. So that does mean that we've got a couple drivers that are backs up against the wall, so to speak.
So Federico Sharifo will take a 0 on his first run, and it'll be necessary that he gets a score on his second run. Federico Sharifo, notably the pilot of the Ferrari Fiorella, as they call it, Triple F drifting department on Nexon tires. Here is Taylor Hull, comp cams, Achilles tire, another Cadillac ATS-V in the mix this year. I say Taylor Hull had it first, and then Austin debuting this year. Man, it's crazy to think, Ryan, only one more round left, October 18-19.
I know.
That's crazy.
I remember saying to myself at Long Beach, maybe even I even said it to you, I was like, we're gonna wake up and it's gonna be Irwindale.
Yep.
And yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
That's pretty much what happened. I mean, we've woken up in different cities and countries in between then, you know, just completing a bunch of other things and events, and you know, yourself in Japan, but just some just the progression of the sport overall, you know, it's been pretty tremendous. Here we go, Taylor Hull, who just came off a victory at Holly Performance LS Fest. He's piloting that Comp Cams Cadillac ATS-V. Look at him whip it into that third outer zone transition. See how he handles this. Absolute spot on. And across that finish line and that front clip. But doing a good job on those outer zones, even taking out his back bumper.
Well, let's take a look at this run here from Taylor Hull. Does get on throttle right around the proper time. Comes up that zone a little bit early there. Is able to reach out to outside zone 2. Good movement across the center section there, filling that zone completely. And remember, the judges are looking at those back wheels in the zone. If they do take out one of those opening or closing markers designating the zone, that's going to be fine so long as they're just right at the edge of the zone. And so for Taylor Hull, after coming off another big weekend in another location, looking strong here in his first run rather.
All right, so Taylor Hull waits his score and heads back to his pits with his team. Boy from Georgia. Awaiting his run 1 score. And there it is, an 81 for Taylor Hull. 8-1 for Hull, as next up was to be Federico Sharifo, as Ryan just reported, finding out that he will forego his first run and need to score on his second run. Dan Burkett. Dan Burkett, Rad Industries next entire Toyota Supra. Comes into that first outside zone. You can see some hesitation there. Doesn't stay all the way out. Let's see how he handles the power alley. You can see him lining up for that front clip, just barely glancing, knocking it over. Dan Burkett, don't know if his car is geared exactly properly for and just the speed. Would love to get some insight of what's going on right here as we take a look at it again. Watch it. He did initiate, but watch, see how it just grips up and starts coming in.
Yeah, he didn't really get settled as early as he wanted to, had to fiddle around with it. Gets out to that second outside zone pretty decently, as well as the third. Slight movement in the front end there, like that transition, big angle, but he's not able to fill that outside zone, and then he has to make a big adjustment there as he was on a tighter line, angles up. So leaving some points on the table there is Dan Burkett.
Okay, as Burkett backs it in, let's see where he lands on his first run. As I said, it's going to be a hot one today. High of 95. You can see the heat, just the heat waves. And there's Burkett, a score of 69, dude. So Dan Burkett with a 69 on his first run, which does mean he will be in the show. He gets a score. So he will be in head-to-head competition, given that we have 32 vehicles. But still, right now, number 1 and number 2 qualifier, if we ended, would have a bye run. But lots of drivers, lots of tires to burn. Right now, Dirk Stratton at Stratton Chevrolet, Lingenfelter Performance Corvette from Ohio. Little shimmy there into that third outer zone. Really delicate around that first front clip, and really well done there by Dirk Stratton. Looks like this course is going to suit his style. Let's take a look at it again here, Ryan.
Yeah, let's take a look at this run here. And he gets back on throttle pretty early. Nice job there. Fills that outside zone pretty decently. And good throttle control here. A little bit of adjustment with the front wheels, but is able to swoop around that inside clip. And the final outside zone was pretty well executed. And there's that final inside clip as well, with the nice smoke line being drawn there. So Dirk Stratton looking pretty good.
Dirk awaiting his score. Dirk from Ohio, driving from his home state and bringing it on in the other day, him and his team on the Fortune Auto coilovers. And an 83 for Dirk Stratton. Challenges our current leader there of Joao Berrion. So an 83 for the Dagger, Dirk Stratton. Next up, Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones currently sits 23rd in that Doc Falcon Tires Nissan 370Z from Los Angeles. But just the way Jeff has been driving, he's definitely a contender. Did really well in St. Louis. Oh, and he finds himself in the dirt. Looked like 3 tires off there. Brings it back on track just to finish out the course. Looks fairly possessed right now. Call him El Diablo, as that would be considered an unchaseable run, pretty much right there, Ryan.
Well, I mean I don't
he
even.
had 3 tires off, didn't he?
Yeah, well, no, they did say that 3 tires off was going to be an incomplete, and Ryan Lantane is confirming it now. So if it is 3 or 4
1,
tires,
2. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
it will be an incomplete. So unfortunately, we'll have another driver that's going to have to really
deliver on the second run
with
yeah.
a lot of pressure on that second run.
But at a minimum, just get a score on the board. Keep it where the rubber meets the road and send it in sideways. But obviously that being very difficult. A lot of these guys going for the gusto. So unfortunately for Jeff Jones, that will be an incomplete, meaning a 0 on his first run. And there it is, make it official. Jeff Jones and that Doc Edelbrock Nissan 370Z. Back in the pits and receiving a score. Next up, Ryan Littoral. The Power Stop Brakes, Coro Works, Next and Tire, Nissan 350Z. Ryan Littoral talking about this thing's a rocket ship. He's feeling it. Saw some videos of him on social media and says liking the car, feeling the flow. Let's see what we got here. Ryan Littoral initiates into that big outer zone, turns on the smoke machine. You can see a little bit of wavering there. Wow, punting that second outside zone marker, ripping through that power rally. Let's see how he approaches this final outer zone. Fills all of that thing with that Power Stop Coro Works 350Z. Ryan Littoral, it's lit, fam.
Well, he's looking really strong here in run number 1. Let's take a look at this. He gets back on throttle maybe a little bit later than he could have. Really deep into that zone, punts the last cone of that outside zone area. Now into outside zone 3, just right at the edge there, gets around that inside clip. Little bit of a hiccup on the transition. Very minor, but not as smooth as you would like, but he was flying through the course here. You can see as he gets to that outside zone, he's just right on the inside there. Great job on that inside clip in terms of the line. And then as we wrap through that final outside zone, you get a good opportunity to see from above how deep he was into that zone on the yellow paint.
Okay, so waiting for a Littoral score. Shout out to the Jimmy Up boys. I know they got a new TV in their garage. As an 88 for Ryan Littoral, an 88, our new leader. A strong score from him. So well done by Ryan Littoral. Next up, Dylan Hughes. And with the maiden voyage for not only his vehicle, but him as a rookie driver, he's fighting for that Formula Drift Rookie of the Year, challenging one of his good friends, Travis Reeder. Let's see how this Rain-X Achilles tires, BMW, Huddy Racing. Oh man, gets into the dirt, drops the 2 tires. That'll obviously be a deduction, but doesn't go 3 tires off. Looks like he salvages that run. That was only 2, so it will be a deduction. We'll see, Ryan.
Let's take a look at Dylan Hughes, run number 1 here. Hits that outside zone. I like the smoothness here. Leaving outside zone 1, in outside zone 2, right at the edge of the course there. Good transition back around, and like you said, he does go off course there, so that's gonna be the biggest mistake of the run. Looked like 2 wheels initially, but nonetheless, he will receive a big deduction for that section of the course.
Dylan Hughes heads back to the pit, awaiting his score, the outcome of this run. Lontaine, you're style judge, but I can see you putting in and inputting your score, but which judge is doing what? Your style, Brian, and Andy?
I'm style, Brian Eggert is doing angle this round, and Andy N is the line judge.
Speaking of line, again, Jeff Jones, 3 tires off.
Yeah.
Incomplete.
Yes.
2 tires off. How is that?
2
how's
tires
that
off will be a 4-point deduction for that zone,
Okay.
for that area. That's sector, you should call it. 1 tire is a 2-point deduction. Hitting an inside clip with, just the corner
Just
of the bumper.
glancing it?
Yeah, that's a 2-point deduction.
But if you center punch that thing or the wrong side of the car, that's 5.
The scores it'll incrementally, depending how badly you hit that inside clip, it'll get higher. Yeah.
You guys will make deductions and, yeah, okay, all right.
And then, of course, if it's 4 wheels or 3 wheels off at that inside clip, then it would be an incomplete.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Just going to get some insight from you throughout the event. Here we go. Next up, this is what I was talking about. Dylan Hughes and Travis Reeder, they're in fights for that Formula Drift Rookie of the Year. And Reeder driving 2 vehicles this year, but again, with the vehicle you qualify in, that's the vehicle you have to compete in. Debuted and making history with the first ever electric vehicle in competition, but Reeder went back to old red here, and man, that indicator there of that outside zone is absolutely getting abused and punished as Reeder massages old red into that front clip and that outer zone and brings around that final front clip. It's still standing. Like Billy Joel, I'm still standing.
Well, fighting for that Rookie of the Year with the driver prior to him, Hughes and Reeder going back to back on this, trying to find out who it's going to be. And here's Reeder leaving outside zone 2, big angle there right in the middle of that zone, through that inside clip without touching it, and then very well executed on that final outside zone and tight through that final inside clip, just a whisker through there. So great job there by Reeder, especially towards the latter part of the course, and also very well executed coming through the middle as well.
You know, Reeder and the Napoleon Motorsports Nitto Tire team debuting that electric, the Camaro EV1, just making some strides with that, and I believe they want to come back next year stronger, badder, and better. But very exciting for that team.
Yeah, no question.
But Reeder coming back in 89, so an 89 for Reeder. Now takes that #1 spot as we're working our way to the top. Reeder showing he's got what it takes. Jonathan Castro here, Jodo Metal Dom, Toyota Racing Toyota 86 on Nexen tires. Goes and initiates some wavering there into initiation. See if the car gets settled. Seems to find the right spot here through the power alley. Not a ton of angle as we've seen compared to some of the other vehicles, but does have the placement spot on, especially in the second half through that power alley.
Well, Jonathan Castro finishing up his first run. Let's take a look at it here one more time. Snaps it into initiation, floats it out for a second, gets back on throttle. Right in the middle of that outside zone, maybe came off a tiny bit early. Transition there didn't really look like as aggressive as you would like to see. He also did not get out to that third outside zone, so leaving a few points on the table in that critical section, the middle of the course. But he will get a scored run for his first run in qualifying.
Castro heading back, awaiting a score. He's definitely going to need to step it up there on that outside zone. You know, we've always touted run what you brung. This course is really going to separate those high horsepower vehicles. I should just say the vehicles that have the speed, have that, you know, just ability to stay sideways and really rip through that first outside zone. And there it is with an 80. That's an 8-0 for Jonathan Castro. As I said, his placement was, oh, look at that, actually missing 8 points there. And you have to assume that's from that first outside zone. Kazuya Taguchi, Achilles Tire Up Garage, Top One Oil S15. And let's see how Taguchi puts it down here on his first run. Initiates, you can see a little clunky there as the car, you can see it just get disrupted. Now it looks like that the GTR powered, that VR power plant coming in hot, that final outer zone, and wraps it perfectly, puts a bow on it as he crosses the finish line.
Well, Taguchi, like a rocket ship out of the gate, real snappy transition, lets it float out. You can see got back on throttle pretty early there. And as you said, the car was kind of bouncing around a little bit, but really looking at the driving overall, he seems to be pretty well settled. He does miss this third outside zone. And And then something pops off of his vehicle there. Not sure what that was, looked like a rag, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him here. He gets through that final inside clip very well. Here he is leaving outside zone 1. Watch through this center section, Jared, as he gets to outside zone 2, and then 3, he's going to be on the inside there, so he's going to lose some valuable points. He does hit that first hash mark, and you really get a good eye on exactly where he's going on the course from that perspective. So Taguchi will be another driver moving right along into the top 32, and we will see where that slots him in overall.
And Taguchi, as you say, Ryan, headed back. Taguchi coming into this round of competition 18th overall, hashtag FDTX. Modifying the schedule a bit from yesterday to today. An 84 for the Achilles up garage vehicle, Kazuya Taguchi. So yeah, again, last night having to basically shut down Pro 2 qualifying. Drivers couldn't see, judges couldn't see, so he said, you know what, we have time today, let's slide it in today. Happy belated birthday to Dean Carnage Kearney, the Oracle Lighting Achilles tire Dodge Viper. Look at that. Bringing it on in to that second and third outer zone. Barking him up. Bouncing his way into that final front clip and brings it around Ryan.
Well, a really good job overall by Dean in terms of adhering to the decel map. You can see he got out of the gate really fast, snaps it right there. He's back on throttle. There was that first area, that decel marker of the course layout. But look at this, on throttle all the way through. On this third outside zone, comes up a little bit short there, but he's still blazing. And then right here, here's that second decel zone. Floats it right in that outside zone, and then he's immediately back on throttle. So in terms of aggressiveness, in terms of being on point where he needed to with the throttle, he did a great job. He just left a few points on the table there with that third outside zone, so we'll probably see that reflect in the line score.
And Dean Kearney, wait for his score. As I said, it was his birthday yesterday, and he gets an 87, on his first run. So line leaving some points on the table, few in style, but line is definitely where he needs to find them. Here we go, Pat Gooden. These guys were up late last night working on Pat Gooden's car and his car being operated by. Oh, look at that, Pat getting into the dirt, dropping 2 tires. Oh, and losing a door. Okay, that's a new one. I mean, actually, we have seen doors be lost in the past, but I know last event that door took quite a hit in St. Louis, and looks like it finally says, nah, I quit. So Pat Gooden shuts it down, but you know, don't mean to laugh, but that is unfortunate for Pat.
Well, let's see what happened here. Pat initiates, he is back on throttle pretty early there, but immediately hits that first cone marker, slides off the course. That causes a speed delay there, and then that's where the door falls off. But he was making some mistakes with the front wheels there, decides to shut it down, and probably for the best there. It'll be a pressure-filled situation for run number 2. But quite a few mistakes there on run number 1. Maybe best just to go back and evaluate the vehicle, make sure that it's in tip-top shape.
Well, again, him and Matt Field were working on their vehicles. Matt Field replacing an engine. Pat Gooden, I believe there was something with the rear end, his back left wheel. It was something regarding the subframe and all that. So just unfortunate for Pat, but he's going to gather his thoughts. I know he kind of gets in his own head, maybe gets a little too emotional, but he should definitely just pick your head back up, get it together, find out what's wrong with the car, get a new door, do what you got to do. Just keep it between the lines, because once you get a score on the board, you have till tomorrow to get the car right, ready, and ready for battle. And we'll make that official here with Pat Gooden. That will be an incomplete run, meaning a 0 on his first run. Ken Gooshie, and there it is, Pat Gooden with a 0 on his first run. Kenshiro Gooshie, Greddy Performance Products, Toyota Racing, Achilles Tires, Toyota 86. He just got back from, where was it? Somewhere in tropical location with Achilles Tires. I believe was it Bermuda? Bahamas? We'll get back to that in a moment, but I know him and the Achilles team spent some time as now Ken Gooshie in that 2JZ powered Toyota 86. All right, clearing up the track, making sure the clipping point markers and clipping zone indicators are back in their positions. Travis Reeder leads the pack, Ryan Littoral in second, Dean Kearney third, Taguchi and Joao Berrion round out the top 5. As now we're currently sitting 14th, Ken Gooshie with his first run. A lot of smoke coming out of that vehicle, and that's a good thing, but scrubbing a lot of speed, Ryan. You saw him correct those front wheels to get in that second outer zone. I mean, hammered down, absolutely just putting a brick on the pedal. Quick little lift there, approaching that final front clip. But Ryan, let's look at it again. What do you see?
Well, I know that Ken said that he absolutely loves this new course layout. And as we take a look at his first run, really mashing the throttle there. But as you said, a couple little adjustments in the front end right there. As he leaves outside zone 1, gets to that outside zone number 2. Pretty good job on outside zone 3, smooth through that inside clip. Nice transition there. Nicely done as well. He had a little tiny lift there between outside zone 4 and the inside clip, but just a small little adjustment. I think this will be a good score for him, but we have seen some really stellar runs from Ken in practice, and I'm certain that he's going to definitely take this one and build off of it for run number 2.
All right, Gooshie awaiting a score as Chelsea Denofa, the BC Racing. And there it is. So 27. Wow, Ryan, that's a very impressive score. So overall, just consistent across the board. You can see 27s. Here we go with Chelsea Denofa. Denofa bringing it into that outer zone. See that front right coming to a halt. Wow, big angle from Denofa. Can he hold on to it? Yes, he does. Throws him off the helmet. As we take a look at it again, look at Chelsea hop, skip, and a jump into that first outer zone, coming in the second. Looks like you get in it, go to that third, big angle. See that the front angle kit just maxing it out. And man, very exciting to watch. Let's go. FPV view, this will be a good opportunity. Gets out to that third outer zone, tight to the front clip. You can see still on the throttle, it seemed like. He took speed out of the car with that angle, and look at that, filling all that zone, riding on the rumble strips, and he does not hit that front clip. Amazingly, just delivers. So a very exciting run. All right, as the judges are tabulating their scores and their assessment of what's going on in respective categories. Style, angle, line. Again, Andy Yen, line judge. Angle is Brian Eggert. And line is Ryan Lantain. Or excuse me, style. Style is Ryan Lantain. And waiting for Denofa score, a 93. He takes that top spot, and you can see near perfect, of course. Line 28 and a 36 for style. Forrest Wang up next. Achilles tire, Yellow Speed Racing Energy Innovations S15. The Permatex Pro qualifying board, Denofa, now atop it. Let's see how Wang handles this power rally. Comes into it. Into the second outer zone, third. That 2JZ powered S15, a very popular setup. Now, oh, and Wang gets into the tires. Our first victim goes into the tires. Definitely could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, that Super Duke body kit taking a hit. But that, I mean, we've seen some really kind of breathtaking crashes there.
Well, he kind of came out the front straight a little bit slower than I would have expected. Then he got on the throttle right there as he initiated. And this looks great so far. Leaves that outside zone. Nice job on outside zone 2. Fluid transition right in the middle of outside zone 3. And then he extends a little bit too far. And as he approaches outside zone 4, he catches that back bumper before outside zone 4. And let's see if we can catch it on the drone. Look at this. This is very well done here from Forrest. Right in the middle of outside zone 3, tight on that inside clip. And then right here, he's going to catch that back bumper, and it's going to spin the car around. Now, we have seen vehicles go much harder into the wall than that and much harder into the tire wall than that. And so I think Forrest kind of got away with one here. The damage will probably be more superficial than anything else, but nonetheless, he will receive an incomplete for his first run.
Well, looks like, again, as you say, Ryan, gets off easier than some we have seen in the past, but still a bit of a black eye for Forrest Wang, but he'll get his car back together. He'll get nuts in his Achilles tire, Yellow Speed Racing NRG Innovations Sylvia S15. All right, so we'll clean up the track here. We'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be rip-roaring and ready to go. Next up, Matt Field in that Falcon Tires Borla Exhaust Corvette. right, welcome back. The track is clean. We're ready to send it. Here for, again, the party continues. The showdown, Advanced Auto Parts Showdown presented by Rain-X. Unfortunately, no Rain-X will be needed. And just as I say that, the clouds start to form and a storm brewing. But fortunately, it's just the Beast from the Bay showing up. He's warming up his Falcon tires. Again, they replaced their engine yesterday. Better safe than sorry. Just talking to his spotter and just elaborating on, you know, better safe than sorry. Get the engine. And fortunately, the engine just showed up on Wednesday here to Texas. So a great opportunity for them to, hey, why not just drop the engine, put a new one in? I mean, right? Just rip through those things like tires. No, definitely not. It's an expensive investment. Here we go. The Beast from the Bay, Matt Field. Falcon tires, Borley exhaust, Corvette. Coming down the chute. And that big outer zone. Let's see how he handles it. Sends it in there. Big angle. That part shot max. All the gold bits and bobs on the corners. Locks them up. Dialed in on that front clip. And the final front clip. Well done there from Matt Field. The heat wave visual shades are on. It's a hot one and sunny one. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, he was about as pinned as you could be in that car coming through the center section. He lets it float out, gets back on throttle. Great job here on the outside zone 1. Gets to outside zone 2 with a pretty good line. Nice fluidity here. Doesn't snap full angle there on outside zone 3 or do a big transition, but very clean from Matt. And now finishes up this final section of the course by staying on throttle after leaving outside zone 4 and making it look pretty good there. I know he's got a much more dangerous looking run in him, but that right there will most definitely get the job done. And he was screaming through that center section there, fully committed. So great job by Matt Field.
All right, so as Matt Field finishes out the course, that'll be a safe run. You got to think he's got, you know, part of him has probably got some confidence saying, all right, got the new engine, it's buttoned up, all's good. And part of him's probably like, okay, make sure everything is buttoned up and good. But again, talking to his spotter, said everything was awesome yesterday, driving through the pits. Smoke started bellowing out, couldn't find it. Gremlin just says, hey, how you doing? And that's what caused those guys to be up till 1:30. And Matt Field with an 86 there on his first run. You can see the line just a bit off. And that's where his most points were lost as far as his score. Next up, some more Falcon tires, courtesy of JTP, Justin Pollock. Falcon tires, Roush Performance. Thing. And here comes JTP. Denofa still out front. Can another Mustang take him out? We've seen Justin Pollock have that 100-point run earlier this year. Can he do it again here in Texas? As JTP through that second outer zone into the third. About the second hash mark, whips it into that final outer zone. You can see him locking it up, yanking the brake, and really glancing, not touching it, but just ripping past it. Happy birthday to him, 40 years old. That'd be a great gift, right? Get another 100-point run.
Well, yeah, I don't know that it's going to be this run, but this is a solid run nonetheless. Got that good initiation, filled that first outside zone, maintaining good throttle control through the center section. Just maybe a little bit deeper. He could have been in outside zone 3, but great snap back around, floats it out, then he's back on throttle and stays committed through that final inside clip. So nice job by JTP.
Again, Justin Pollock, happy birthday to him. You can see escaping that third outer zone. Trying to get nasty with that flick, and he did, into the final outer zone. As the Falcon Mustang sits, another Mustang goes by, Von Gittin Jr. The teal and blue awaits. Where does he land on his first run? And a lot of Falcon Tires vehicles here in a row. Next on the line will be Daijiro Yoshihara. Coincidentally, JTP and Dai Yoshihara, that one year that Dai won the championship, it came down to Irwindale. Ryan, that was pretty sensational. Can you recall that when Dai had the championship? Walk us through it.
Well, yeah, that was 2011. He got knocked out early.
He took himself out. He crashed.
He took himself out early. Definitely, head in the hands type of vibe going on. And then as competition went on and things started to shape up a little bit towards the latter part of the event, it became apparent that there was an outside possibility that he could get it back if one of his teammates won it for him.
But the scenario was if Justin Pollock advanced on because Dai was knocked out, Pollock could have got the championship.
Yep. And
then Pollock crashed, taking himself out, kind of handing the victory back to Dai Yoshihara. So that was crazy. But both these guys running Falcons for numerous years. In '89 for the birthday boy, again, still in his back pocket. One of the sensational moments of 2019 for sure was Justin Pollock earning, deserving a 100-point run earlier this year.
It was JTP, Dai, and McNamara were our three contenders going into that 2011 season.
That was crazy. All right, here we go. Speaking of Dai, the former champ, turn 14 distribution Falcon tires, Subaru BRZ. Oh, and it gets into the dirt, and that's gonna. I mean, I'm seeing the judges kind of shake their heads. The question for me is that a chaseable run, Ryan? It just going in, and I definitely saw 2 tires off, but I think as opposed to just the tires going off is how much speed he scrubbed and how offline he was.
No, I think that's exactly right. It's really going to be a question of whether or not that was a chaseable lead run. If you were to have a chase driver in proximity and this happens right here, what would happen to that chase driver? Seems like it'd be very difficult to chase that. So, I mean, either way, whether or not they scored, it's not going to be the run that he's going to want to move into the top 32 with. So he's going to want to get that second run. But, we are stacking up a few drivers that do have those incompletes either because of an incomplete during their competition run or not able to make it to the line. So we will have some pressure-filled run number 2s.
Yeah, quite a few actually. And with this being a new track setup, none of the drivers have basically like the analytics from previous years. So they're making it up as they go along. What works, how they feel, and I was talking with somebody, and they said Dai Yoshihara, he's just getting back from Asia. He was just over, I believe, in Japan, and if I can recall via social media, but he wasn't feeling well, wasn't feeling 100% yesterday. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets it back together and is feeling better, but. Never know. Dai Yoshihara in the pits. See the Falcon tires being changed out. Stand bro. And we are hearing from the judges that, yes, it's an unchaseable lead run. Talking to Lantain, he says unchaseable. So again, regardless of the tires going off, scrubbing too much, too much speed, and where would he go if you were in that chase? Ryan, Achilles tires. Essa went to, Gooshie and Achilles were at Trinidad and Tobago. Got some clarification from Sherilyn. Thanks, Sherilyn. Hopefully you had a good time. Hearts go out to those in the Bahamas as well. I mean, absolutely ripping through that storm, and Florida was got hit, but definitely not quite as hard as the Bahamas. So, again, thoughts and prayers go out to you, and, man, just very, very devastating for the Bahamas. Next up, Michael Essa. Michael Essa spotting, helping out. I know he's helping out the Sorensen family. Brandon Amanda, I know he's helping out Sean Adriano as well. But to the Essa Autosports, Achilles tire, BMW, another former champ here, currently sits in 8th. As it comes in to that big sweeping outside zone. Talking about how quick somebody goes through this course. Man, those front wheels are absolutely locked, pointing, countered into the direction he wants to go, and ripping through the course, Ryan. I mean, he looked like he zip-tied the pedal down.
You can see why, especially at nighttime, drivers say that this is one of the most challenging courses through that center section, because look how fast Michael S. is coming through here. I mean, this is fully pinned, massive smoke cloud, hits that outside zone right in the middle, flying through that inside clip, gets right in the decel zone at the right time. Just a little bit deeper, he could have been into that final outside zone, but man, he was really ripping through the course. Now let's take a look at it from outside zone 1. He gets that outside zone 2, right up against the rumble strips, outside zone 3, right in the middle, perfect on inside clip 1, and then the final transition there, where we start to lose a little bit of the connectivity with the drone, you could see that he was just a tiny bit on the inside of the deepest part of that zone. So maybe a couple points there, but overall, that was really good run by Michael Essa.
Give him a little wave there, the Essa Autosports. As you can see, boost line, Icon wraps, Achilles tire. And Essa waits for his score. Remember, our schedule has been modified from yesterday or last night to today, so be sure to check formuladee.com, check all the social media networks, and tell a friend. As Essa gets a 93, and he takes that #1 spot, that Black Magic Top Qualifier Award winner, wins the medallion, wins the bragging rights, and wins some cash, courtesy of Black Magic. Will he hold on to that spot? 7 more drivers plus all 32 more, and quite a bit of incompletes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incomplete runs, Ryan. Here we go, Vaughn Gittin Jr., that Monster Energy Nitto tire, Ford Performance Mustang, RTR, ready to rock. Professional fun haver flirting with the dirt there. Coming in hot through the second, now the third outer zone. The chrome nose reflecting off of that front clip. Bringing it into the final front clip. Ryan, the chrome nose, oh, and look at that going into the dirt, coming out hot as opposed to coming in.
Well, that looked like a really solid run at first pass. I mean, very aggressive initiation. Rate to angle was there. He was back on throttle very early. He's in the deepest part of that outside zone 1. He's staying on throttle here, fills outside zone 2, outside zone 3 right in the middle, just on the inside of that first hash mark on the inside clip, and then right here through this final section, tees up a really good line, leaving the final outside zone. So I think this will definitely get into the 90s, and it'll be up there as one of the better runs so far as he fills that final outside zone and also hits that inside clip. You can see how fast he was going as a few tires dropped after the finish line, so no harm, no foul there, but just gives you an idea of the aggressiveness.
No harm except a bumper, and Vaughn and Chelsea, man, those guys go through a lot of those RTR splitters and little fenders, but risk it for the biscuit. Vaughn comes into this round of competition sitting 7th. And we, of course, will go on to our 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Sitting first, Frederick Osbo. James Dean sitting in 2nd. Only 1 point separate them. If you're just tuning in, we are live, baby. 91 and 91 for Vaughn Gittin Jr. Again, run 1 for all our drivers. They will get a 2nd run here at Texas Motor Speedway. Next up, Drift Alliance brother Chris Forsberg and the NOS Energy Drink. Nissan 370Z on Exxon tires.
Yeah, Jared, I just wanted to kind of point out that if fans are watching at home, they're thinking about the championship, I think the championship basically starts right here at Chris. These got all the guys that are within 100 points of Frederick Osbo.
71 points behind the leader. There's Forsberg riding the line right there as the SSR wheels go around. He's running that VR setup there. Just barely tipping that front clip into that final outer zone, gets in about half of it, and then the final front clip crossing that finish line. Really pinning it, hammering down there, Ryan.
Yeah, very strongly done here by Chris. You can see he got back on throttle early, hit that outside zone very well. He's full throttle here through outside zone 2. Big angle into outside zone 3, but keeps it smooth through the inside clip. Then a good transition, floats it out, and he's back on throttle. And he pretty much stays that way through the final inside clip, so great job there.
An 89 there for Chris Forsberg. Just having some words with our judges, and I saw that Chris Forsberg just barely nicked it, but it wasn't enough where the cone needed to be reset, so no 2-point deduction assessed there. So an 89 for Chris Forsberg. Next up, Ryan Turk. Again, from, let's call it what it is, from worst to first. Totaling his car in Long Beach and then coming and winning in New Jersey.
Can you imagine even if he got a top 32 knockout, he would have an additional event points amount that he would have been able to contribute to the championship. And
you know who's thought about that? Ryan and his team. But like you were saying, sorry, finish your thought.
No, it gives you an idea of how well the season has come together for him after that.
Yeah.
And I know people are probably tired about hearing us talk about it, but I just think that it was a very, very scary crash. There's no reason he should have been able to make it to round 2 with the car that he's driving now, and they did it.
Yeah.
And they did well, and they're in the championship chase, and right now he's sitting 5th in points.
Yeah. The Gum Out Toyota Racing Toyota 86 on Nitto tires. It's got the NOS Energy Drink on the nose. Check out Blackout. Those guys have been having some fun, and they went out and drove their safari cars out in the desert. Him and Forsberg and Dylan and Austin Keene. Here we go into that outside zone. This 2JZ powered Toyota 86 gets into the dirt and loses it. So that will be another incomplete, Ryan, that we've seen. Now, again, as I said, 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure I count them all. 4, 5, now 6. A total of 6 incomplete so far with 4 drivers left remaining. Odi Bakshis, Piotr Visick, James Dean, and the Norwegian Hammer, Fredrik Osbo, leading the pack.
Well, that is a very rare occurrence that we see from Ryan Turk. Just a mistake there on his line on outside zone 1. He's got a good angle here. As soon as those rear 2 tires drop, you can see the car angles up, it bounces off the dirt, and he's unable to push through. So just a driver's mistake there from Ryan Turk on run number 1, and he'll have some heavy lifting to do in run number 2 as some of these incompletes start to stack up a little bit.
Like I said, 6 right now, 6. And that's, 32 drivers. So if we ended right now, the top 6 would just get the fast pass into the top 16. Hey, it could happen. I mean, you're seeing again, no analytics outside of practice yesterday, practice this morning. Odi Bakshis started the season off better than anybody else, and now here he sits in 4th place. Originally from Lithuania, the Falcon tires, Feel suspension, Nissan S14.5. Here we go. Comes into that outside zone. You can see him you can hear that that rapping, the rapping away on the throttle in the second outer zone. Like seeing that angle coming down the chute, looking at the screen as opposed to the naked eye. Working it into that final outer zone for this Falcon Tires vehicle. Ryan, does that challenge a 93 of Michael Lessa?
Well, I think what can be said about Odi Bakshis this year is that this has been one of the better years for him, especially with those 2 back-to-back wins. This was his season at the first half. He's fallen off a little bit here, but this kind of driving, this aggressive, full tilt driving, on point, snappy transition, obeying all the rules of judging criteria is what we've really seen him do well at this year in qualifying, and it's given him some really top qualifying positions, and I think that was another example of it. Very few mistakes there. It'll definitely be a run into the 90s, and for Odi Bakshis, it would be a huge thing for him to get a good result here in Texas and fight for that championship. He's just sitting outside of the top 3 positions right now with the strength of the Werthaus team and with Fredrik Osbo in the second half of the season. But Odi was our story rounds 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and just look at positions 2, 3, and 4. Those are S chassis. A very popular chassis. The parts are readily available, and it comes a 97. So it does a 97. Look at that, perfect in angle, perfect in style, just missing some line points. Ryan, this has got to build his absolute transness right now, and he's going to dial it in and turn it up.
Yep, I would say put the car away unless somebody gets a 98.
I mean, that's not a bad approach, and you figure, you know, we are now into top 3 current standings. If the championship ended tonight, this is how it would stand. Peter Visek would be 3rd, but the Polish driver, the Candyman, wants to show up. Look at that, squatting down. Looks like he's dragging side skirt. You can see that back Falcon tire tucked in. Oh man, look at this. Peter Visek going for it. Gets all the way out super deep, gets into the rumble strips and wraps it around that final clip. Can't even see that final front clip. Ryan, you talked about somebody getting a 98. I don't know.
Well, these guys are always known, and Visek has had some #1 qualifications. Yep. The Werthouse team is known for those really top-notch qualifying positions, especially James Dean. But Peter Visek has had a tremendous year this season, and right here, backing it up again with another great qualifying run. No real major mistakes. The vehicle looks like it was squatting in the rear a bit more than we're used to. It may have made some adjustments there, but still a high-level, high-caliber run from Peter Visek, who, you know, on a side note, was one of the great stories coming out of St. Louis. We saw the run with him and James Dean, and then his team trying to fix the vehicle. There was so much off-track action that was captured last round that it really brought it home for me in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it was an interesting round, but also, as you say, just how the stories unfold and what transpires. And the Werthouse boys have just, I mean, they put on a show for the fans this year.
Yeah, it was. Oh, there you go.
97. Right. There we got.
Got all right. All right, Odie. Second run.
Yeah. All right. And okay, so we are being told that Odie has a higher score for style, but obviously the second run will dictate where they land. But then the first indicator, if they say they both get 97s, it would come down to style, with Odie having that perfect style score. Here we go. Car may look the same, but very different. Changed up a little bit, but of course the driver, the tall, mean, lean green, the machine, James Dean, our defending champion, 2-time defending champion. And this is a good indicator just to show you, it might be a gift that his teammate went right ahead of him, because what the vehicles are capable of doing and how he does it maybe a little more refined. Not saying that was, but it's interesting. Look at that, knocking over those rear outside zone indicators.
But I think he may have knocked it over via wind and speed. I don't even think that he hit it. Let's take a look. Great job on outside zone 1, right at the edge there. Full throttle. Look at the back wheels, completely spinning. Smoke line. Yeah, he knocks it over with momentum, and just the physics of the vehicle moving by those outside zone. So again, James Dean, solid here. This is going to be right up there. Really no mistakes. He may have been deeper into outside zone 3 than the other 2 97s that we've seen. So once again, James Dean showing that he is arguably the best drifter in the world right now, and on the precipice of 3 championships. Formula Drift back to back to back with a few guys that can stop him, but he's been on a mission the second half of the season.
All right, looks like Kyle Pollard walking with him there, and a 99, a near perfect run, 1 point. Lontaine just didn't want to give him that 1 point. Lontaine, put your headset on. Put your headset on, bud. Yeah, 1 point. Where was the 1 point?
The 1 point was for fluidity going into outside zone 4. If you looked at what Odie did, the way he threw the car in, he threw it in at a greater degree of angle, but the rotation to angle was much better on the transition. And it was just a slight hesitation from James in that area that I didn't know I was going to be the only one deducting a point, but I ended up being the guy that kept him away from his 100-point run. But got to catch those little things when they occur.
I wouldn't walk down a dark alley with 2 tall gentlemen named Candy Machine.
I'm going to stay in the light.
Yeah, stay in the light. All joking aside, our new Black Magic top qualifier, James the Machine Dean. Frederick Osbo would love to take him down because they're only separated by 1 point. So now qualifying gets interesting as far as standings going to head-to-head tomorrow. The Norwegian Hammer, Frederick Osbo, fills that second outer zone. Keep in mind, 4-cylinder, turbo, nitrous. This Toyota Racing Toyota Corolla hatchback gets out to the outer zone. Don't know if exactly that's going to deliver like to the execution. And Ryan, if that was his point of contention, getting into that outer zone wasn't as dynamic as Odie's was as well.
Well, I think if he wants to beat James Dean, or at least tie him, it's going to have to be on run number 2. And he definitely left some points on the table in outside zone 3. Let's watch this. He leaves outside zone 2 right at the edge of the course, and then right here. See, he's just kind of about on the inside of outside zone 3, just right at the edge of the course there, so no way he's going to be able to solidify full line points there. And we'll see if the judges deducted anything further from that. But after the last 2 runs we've seen, the last 3 runs we've seen from Bakchis, Visek, and Dean, you could certainly see a point of differentiation between Frederick Osbo and those runs.
Yeah, like you said, on that outside zone 3, just kind of early on, got into it and got out, approaching that first front clip, that inside clip. So we'll get Osbo's score, and we'll take a short break here as we'll go right back into it. The second run for all our drivers here at Texas Motor Speedway Advanced Auto Parts Showdown, presented by Rain-X. And an 87, so an 87 there for Frederick Osbo. Slides him into 12th. We'll take a short break. When we come back, run 2 for all our drivers, and we have a total of 7, count them, 7 incompletes that these drivers need to step up here at Texas Motor Speedway. Ryan Sage, Jared DeAnda, Ryan Lantain, our judges, Brian Egger and Andy Yen. When we come back, run 2 for all our drivers.
The Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship is brought to you by Black Magic.
Welcome back, Advanced Auto Parts Showdown, presented by Rain-X. I'm Jared DeAnda. Joining me, next to me once again, Ryan Sage. We'll get some insight from Brian Lantain, if need be. Second run for all our drivers as we are getting ready. The man to beat, our current #1 qualifier, James the Machine Dean. He leads the pack with a near perfect 99, 1 point, and that was in the style category. We also have 7 incompletes. Those drivers that second run. Now keep in mind we have 32 drivers. Keep it between the lines. Keep it where the rubber meets the road. At least 2 tires on the track. But that is Kevin Lawrence, Federico Sharifo, Jeff Jones, Pat Gooden, Forrest Wang, Dio Shihara, and Ryan Turk, who sits in 5th. All those drivers have incomplete runs on their first run. They need to step up here in the second run. Here we go, Sebastian Gauthier lighting him up off the start line. Gotta assume he's running nitrous with that Nitrous Express on the door. Gauthier does have a score in the books. You know he's gonna push a little harder. Wow, really using all of the track. Out to that second outer zone, transitioning into the third. Tight to the front clip as Gauthier gets nasty with the snap into the final outside zone. And looking a lot more confident. He had a 77 on his first run, Ryan.
Yeah, and I think he will improve that just at first pass. Gets that initiation back on throttle a little bit later than you'd like to see, but great job on outside zone 1. Tiny little fluctuation there, leaving outside zone 1, but 2 and 3 connected pretty well. Great job through that inside clip. He gets into the zone just a little bit early, but he's still able to fill it. And he gets right on the inside of that second hash mark, between the first hash mark there on the final inside clip. So I think a good second run for Sebastien Gauthier. And we'll see now our first driver slot their position into the top 32 with 2 scored runs.
Ryan, what do you think this course is going to do for head-to-head?
I think it'll be, pretty raging as usual.
Yeah. I think it's going to create a few one more times.
I think it's
either going to be polarizing. It's going to be just definitive and somebody's going to overpower like an arm wrestling competition, or it's just going to create really good close chases.
Yeah, I think it's better than last year because drivers are not really fighting for positioning on the big, I guess what you could call the big bank. There's 86 for Sebastian Gauthier.
86 for Gauthier.
But they have to get out to that outside zone. So I think that area will definitely produce a much better setup for the remainder of the course. So there's not a running away effect after last year where we had that inside clip.
Yeah,
so I think
slowed things down and kind of bottlenecked it, and then you'd shoot out. João Barrion from Brazil in the Barbarius Achilles Tire Corvette, sponsored by Monster Energy. We've seen him on that show Hyperdrive on Netflix, and here he is, throwing it into that third outside zone. Knocks over that front clip. That's going to be a point deduction. I believe just 2 points because it wasn't a full. Whoa, and João getting into the dirt, getting dirty.
So João, run number 2. Here we go. Let's take a look. Snaps into that initiation, back on throttle. Gets to that outside zone, stays pretty consistent with the line. Good throttle here to outside zone 2, right at the edge of the course. Nice snap back around, doesn't fully commit to it, and just taps that inside clip, so 2-point drop there. Maybe could have been a tiny bit deeper into that final outside zone, and you can see he was really flying through the course. Went off of course after the finish line, so that'll be no problem there. But that setup to the final outside zone, could have maybe put a little bit more angle in the car, but he was really steaming through there. So let's see how this matches up to his 83, which he had in run number 1.
João Barrion, the Barbarius Monster Corvette. And an 81, so he does not better it. So an 81 on his second run. Here we go, Kyle the Menace Mohan. On his second run, American Ethanol Mazda tricks. He does have a score in his back pocket, but he'd love to step up even higher. He has a 82 on his first run. Talk about consistent throttle. The rotary, lone rotary competition swings wide around that final front clip, Ryan, but 82 on his first run.
Yeah, and a respectable score. I mean, Mohan seems to have a pretty good grip on this course overall. He does let it float out there quite a ways, gets back on throttle at the beginning of outside zone 1, but he seems very comfortable in the vehicle and on this course, and you can tell by how committed he is through this center section, really on throttle there. He does leave a few line points on the table and could have maxed out the angle a little bit more there in the final outside zone. See through the inside clip there, he's on that third hash mark, so he's quite a bit off there. But I think in terms of setting himself up for head-to-head competition, looks like he is ready to go. And we'll see where the second score comes in and how that positions him into the top 32.
Okay, Mohan with an 82. Wow, at least he's consistent, right? So an 82 there for Mohan. Austin Meeks back off the line, a 74 in his first run. Ferocious Motorsports next in tires, Cadillac ATS. Kind of off of that outside zone there, Ryan, leaving some points out there. Off of that front clip. Don't know if this is going to better his first score so far. All right. Well, Austin Meeks squeaks out another run. Again, a 74 in his first run.
Yeah, I feel just intuitively that it was better than the 74. It looks like he had a better gloss overall on the course, but as you said, he did miss outside zone 1, so a crucial part of the course there. Let's take a look at the outside zone 3. Better there, he swings a bit long, and that caused him to miss that second inside clip rather. Excuse me, the first inside clip, and then on the second inside clip, he pushes just a tiny bit wide from the line that he had drawn from the 4th outside zone. You got that straight? 4th outside zone, 2nd inside clip.
Did you get it all right there?
And we have to remember that the judges are looking at the rear tires of these vehicles in the outside zone. So if they do hit a cone or gets knocked over by momentum, but their tires are on the edge of the course or even on the rumble strip, that will be full points. So if they do knock over one of those cones, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just going to be dependent on where those rear tires are.
Literally just got tagged on social media, and I was told by a spotter, our next driver, Kevin Lawrence, when he hit that on this first run, which he had an incomplete on, when he hit the front clip, the hood pushed back and smacked the cam sensor on the front of the engine, and it shut him down, no power. So that's why he didn't complete. So a 77 for Austin Meeks, as Kevin Lawrence is our first victim of the incomplete. He needs to step up. He needs a complete run. Let's hope that cam sensor is all there, because he's going to need all the power to finish out this run. The Ajuku Racing, BC Racing, S14.3 enters into the outside zone. I want to see where he initiated, Brian, here, as the Achilles tires. Smoke continues to billow out of the vehicle. Definitely going to keep a safe distance away from that front clip. And now into the final inside clip. Well, that one he took out, but it's okay if he loses power now, I guess. But that was just, again, a fluke incident.
Well, Kevin is a very smart competitor. He understands what needs to be done here. It does not have to be a 100-point run. It'd be nice if it was, but really the risk-reward situation here is that he gets a score, he makes it into top 32. So this run is going to get the job done. He will not have a backup score, so this score will be the standalone number that he has to use in order to slot himself into the top 32, but no question he is in competition for tomorrow. Now it's just a matter of where he ranks.
Yeah, this will be a score for him. You can see this car has taken some abuse. You can see that that rubbing. The rubbing is racing on the door of K-Law. And the clock ticks for him. And up next, we will be seeing Taylor Hull in an 81. So he currently sits in 20th. I'm sure that will change up quite a bit here, as again, now only 6 drivers overall with the incomplete. So it started with 7, and now we are down 1. Taylor Hull, Cop Cams, Achilles tire, Cadillac ATSV. He had an 81 in his first run as well. You can hear him winding it up. Looking collected now, and this is where you really want to throw it out there, get a higher qualifying score. You can barely see that last indicator. Looks like just comes up a bit short there on that outside zone, but dialing it in on that front clip.
So an 81, as you said, Jared. Now let's take a look at this initiation. Really long e-brake pull there. Then he gets back on throttle. So overall on that outside zone, he's right in the middle there. He does a good job on outside zone 2. Angle could have been a little bit bigger there in outside zone 3. And I think generally overall, he could have been a little bit deeper into that final outside zone. But remember, he's got the 81. He's already in the top 32. Let's take a look at it from above. So there's outside zone 2. Pretty good job there. Outside zone 3 as well. Just could have maybe had a bit more angle. But this is the zone, the final zone, that he comes up a little bit short there. Doesn't fill it all the way. So we'll see if that betters an 81. But 2 pretty good runs back-to-back for Taylor Hull. That's a lot to be proud of there. And we will see where he slots himself into the top 32. Seems pretty happy.
Yeah, seems pretty stoked right now. This Magnuson supercharged Achilles tire, just gaining a good story here in 2019. You know, from last year to this year, an 81. So similar to that of Kyle Mohan, and a consistent driver here. Taylor Hull with an 81 currently sits in 20th. All right, stoked. Get to see Fetty out here. Fetty Wap about to throw it in, and Fiorella. And Triple F Racing Department, Drifting Department. The vehicle, the Ferrari 599. Out to that second outer zone, into the third. Not a ton of angle there on the third. He whips it now into that final outside zone. Seems to be dialing it in there around that front clip. Ryan, this was an incomplete where the driver needed to deliver.
Well, that was definitely a big whew. Got that one done, got a score in the books. And Jared, we are hearing that the reason why he didn't make his first run was because there was a wiring issue that they were dealing with. Looks like everything is all situated here. Obviously, this will not be a #1 qualifying run, but pretty amazed to see how snappy that thing transitions after inside clip #1 to outside zone 4. So a good bit of confidence. And that's been pretty much the story for Federico this year, is that even though he's had some moments where he's had some trouble, he seems to be continually building and getting stronger in that vehicle, and it's looking much more settled every time we see him get on course, even though we know with drift cars things are always breaking, and much less a Ferrari. So overall, I think Federico is definitely can keep his chin up. This has been a great season for him overall in that what is a very, very challenging vehicle to bring out here.
Yeah, I was talking earlier about 2, 3, and 4 in the standings right now. Dean, Pieter, Odie, S chassis, parts readily available. Ferrari 599 in the middle of Texas, not so much. There's not many parts, if any, that transfer over. But look, an 81, so he's in the mix now. An 81 for Fedi, aka Federico Sharifo. Dan Burkett did have a score, or does have a score, I should say, and he got one on his first run of 69. I'm sure he wants to better it. Let's see if he's changed things out a little bit, maybe found some extra either gearing or horsepower here as Dan Burkett initiates. Rolling Cole through that first outside zone. Radical Daniel, the Nexon tires. And Fuego punts the second portion, but he overshoots that front clip and now into that final outside zone, into the front clip, and brings it around. There you go, attaboy. Dan Burkett looks like really just kind of pushing hard, maybe a little too hard, right?
So looking to increase that first score number of a 69. He definitely lets it float out there for a while. You can certainly see with the rear tires there, but he is back on throttle. He fills that first outside zone pretty well. Let's see what he does on the third. Ooh, goes a little bit deep there, and he really misses that inside clip. So a couple mistakes that actually looked fairly sizable because he went way offline. Let's see what happens here. He gets into this zone, he fills it, but then he drops that right rear, and the momentum was pushing very hard past that inside clip. So I definitely think there's going to be it could potentially get a slight increase on the run overall, that he had a 69, but it's still not going to be the score that Dan was looking for.
All right. Dan Burkett awaiting his score. And again, with that 69 on his first run, he does better with an 80, an 8-0. That's an 80 for Dan Burkett. Dirk Stratton, 83 on his first run. Lingenfelter, Fortune Auto, Achilles Tire, Stratton Chevrolet, Corvette C6 from Ohio. Dirk Stratton. Very good run on his first run. This is where it's a good opportunity for him to kind of get ready for battle, find out what the right line is, how he can throw it down, and think about massaging it in the chase position. Finding the right gears to make sure you still have that horsepower on deck to surge. Oh, and it looks like he spins after the finish line, Ryan.
Yep, and that will be an incomplete. We have been talking about that they do need to maintain control through the finish line, and the drivers majority voted that if there is a spin past the finish line, that they want it to be called as an incomplete. So we move forward with that rule. Now let's take a look and see if we can see where this happens. It does happen right before inside clip, the final inside clip, and he spins past the finish line. So unfortunately, he is going to have to hold on to that 83 in his first run, and that will put him in 18th position right now.
Oh man, yeah, so unfortunate for Dirk Stratton. And incomplete for him, but an 83, so fortunately for him. I know earlier in the year he was running the supercharger, throwing a lot of belts. They said, forget it, let's take that thing off and let's run NA. So we run it like that for St. Louis and now here in Texas. Jeff Jones on the line. He had an incomplete on his first run. The Doc Falcon Tire Nissan 370Z, sponsored by Edelbrock from Los Angeles. Jeff Jones, let's see what you got. Initiates into the outside zone. Uses all the course. You can see him riding that line. See how he transitions. Looks a lot more comfortable here in the second run. The final outer run looks like it throws him off a little bit, but not too bad, and he keeps it between the lines. Again, Ryan, another driver. Whew. Breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, no question. And notice that the incomplete that he had on run number 1 happened in this outside zone. This time he plays it a bit more carefully, stays in the middle of that outside zone, gets through that section of the course by not making that same mistake, comes through that outside zone 3 much better there. He's going to be blazing through this outside zone, which he comes up a tiny bit short on, and the line pushes him a bit wide to inside clip number 1. But right here, you can see he's just at the edge of outside zone 3. So he will get a score in the books and a wipe of the brow with a sigh of relief.
All right, looking local time 1:35. We're scheduled to go qualifying all the way until 2:30. That's if necessary. You can see just with the course ripping through. But again, we will see Pro 2 practice, and then Pro 2 qualifying begins at 3:30 with just the remaining qualifying drivers. Then we'll have a driver's meet after that, and then the actual live stream begins at 7:45 for Pro 2 competition. That's a top 16, that Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. All right, so we got an 80, a score of 80 for Jeff Jones. He does get a score in the books. All right, so another driver with an incomplete. He's safe, and he will be seeing head-to-head competition. So already, Kevin Lawrence, Federico Sharifo, now Jeff Jones. That number went from 7 down to 4. Right now, Ryan Littoral, who lit it up with an 88 out front on his first run. Glancing that outside zone. His power stop brakes. Kuro Works Nissan 350Z. Hiccups his way, as he takes out that final front clip and brings it on home.
Looked a bit unsettled there. Let's take a look at this initiation. He doesn't really snap into it. See, he brakes with the front wheels. And then a little bit of a movement there. Also going very wide after outside zone 1. You can see the front end is wanting to move around quite a bit, and that's going to cause him to kind of be not fully into engaged mode, and then he takes out, center punches that final inside clip. Now remember, he had an 88 on his first run, so pretty solid score, and you can see the reduction in angle there in outside zone 3, and then in 4 he's going to leave and be on the inside here, and he's going to hit that clip and take it with him. So I'm not sure that he's going to match that first run score.
The Coro Works team looking on, awaiting the score. Ryan, as you say, an 88, his first. Don't know if that's going to better it, but that just goes to show you, you know, he just wanted to push a little harder, and that'll just show him that maybe, you know, just you don't need to go to 11. Let's keep it at like a 9.5, maybe even a 10. So a 72. So you were correct there, Ryan. A 72 on his second run. Next up, Dylan Hughes, who was in contention for that Formula Drift Pro Rookie of the Year, just behind Travis Reeder, and Travis Reeder right ahead of him. Again, Reeder sits 20th, Dylan Hughes sits 21st, and right now Reeder has a score of 89, and Dylan Hughes has a score of 77. Dylan Hughes would love to step up. I know he got into the dirt on initiation, just overcooked it, threw up the brown cloud, showing they had 2 tires off, not 3, but I think Dylan will step up here on his second run. Ryan Sage informed me that there's an 11-point difference between Reeder and Hughes for that Rookie of the Year title. And here we go. Dylan Hughes, that Rain-X. Advanced Auto Parts. Huddy Racing, Hughes Racing. BMW keeps it out of the dirt. Keeps it where the rubber meets the road, locks up that front left, taps it into that front inside clip. Gets into that last and final outer zone and brings around Ryan a lot cleaner. Looks like he does knock over that final front clip, but how bad we'll see. We will assess that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Much cleaner overall from Dylan Hughes. Second run here, he had that 77, I believe. As we take a look at this second run, gets out of the gate pretty strong, hustling up to that initiation point, gets an early initiation, floats, and then back on throttle pretty early there. Nice line through outside zone 1, picks up outside zone 2 without much of a flub. Good transition there, could have been a little bit deeper into outside zone 3, but 4, pretty good job there. Maybe could have pushed it a little bit longer, and that would have maybe prevented that e-brake pull there towards the end. So, you know, there's still going to be some points left on the table. Could have been deeper into some of those zones, but I think it made better the first run.
Throwing a big old hang loose there on Big Haas. Dylan feeling the flow. It seems like he's had a lot of fun this year, making the blackout video content. Him and Chris Forsberg and Ryan Turk. Check out the videos. I know just the most recent one that dropped when they're out in the desert. Dylan Hughes riding a dirt bike. Almost getting taken out by Forsberg, but got blinded by it. But now Dylan Hughes waiting for his score. I think this is definitely going to better his 77, but how much for this Rain-X Advanced Auto Parts? Achilles tire, BMW, an 80, so just barely, but jumps him up to an 8-0. So you can see line lacking a little bit of points there. About 9 in total. So here's Reeder, as you said, Ryan, 11 points separate him, and now, you know, Reeder already has one up on him. He scored an 89 on his first run in Old Red, as he calls her. Only in Motorsports, Ditto tires, S13. Snaps it into that final outer zone, filling all of it. But doesn't get tighter to that final inside clip.
Yeah, I mean, Reeder has looked strong this year. The Napoleon Motorsports is a tremendous team. Backing him up here, let's see how he does on his second run. Good angle there through that first outside zone 2. Picks it up there towards the end. Just takes out one of those cones, but he keeps the tires on the course. And then right here, he looked really solid. To this last section, he just was off a bit on the line through that final inside clip. And diving down from above, you'll see that he fills that second outside zone completely. The third, he's right there. He's almost got both tires in that outside zone. And the transition from inside clip 1 to that final outside zone was pretty smooth and solid. So I think this is going to be a good backup score for him. And the battle continues between Travis Reeder and Dylan Hughes for Rookie of the Year.
I like it. I think it's awesome. All right. And Reeder heads back, and he betters it with a 91. A 91 for Reeder. That puts him into top 10 right now, currently sitting in 6th. So well done there by Reeder. All right. And here we go with Jonathan Castro here on his second run. Out to the outside zone, if you can recall, didn't seem just totally calm and collected on his first run, but now really putting it down. And into that final front clip, Ryan. Castro on his first run had a score of an 80, that was 8-0.
It sounds like the gearing may still be a little bit off, or he's making a couple little mistakes. There were some punctuations in the throttle in areas that were not deceleration, and obviously that can definitely play a role. But I think the run overall looks better than the first run. Looks like he's starting to build some momentum here. Does leave a few points on the table with line, as we've seen a lot of drivers having a hard time with that second and third outside zone. But I think with the first score of an 80, I think he can improve on that in run number 2 from what we saw.
All right, so Castro with that 80. The Judo Metal Dom Nexon Tire Toyota Racing Toyota 86. And he gets an 86. So coincidentally, Toyota US headquarters here in Texas now. Driving 86, he gets an 86, puts him in a 14th position. All right, next up, Kazuya Taguchi. And here he comes in the up garage, S15. Initiating very aggressively into that first outer zone. Glancing past that second outer zone, shredding that back bumper up, massive angle into that final outer zone, breaking up a little bit. All right, so Ryan, there we go.
Well, a pretty aggressive run, and you know, you like to see, if you're going to make mistakes, you like to see him done in an aggressive way. This was a really smoky line on that outside zone. You can see the car bouncing around. It seems like some drivers using a softer suspension setup this time around. Big snap back. He pushes a little bit too long on that third outside zone, but looked beautiful. And then right there, you can see how he kind of pushed it out. He's trying to manipulate the vehicle out to that outside zone. So even though with a few mistakes there, I really like the aggressive driving and pushing hard, especially through that center section. And the transition from outside zone 2 to 3 was really beautiful. Just pushed a little bit too hard there and missed a few points on inside clip number 1. So Kazuya Taguchi will have his competition day wrapped up after this score comes through.
And the up garage vehicle with a 94 for Kazuya Taguchi. Ryan, you talked about how aggressive it was and smoky, so very exciting. The judges agreed, gets into that top 4 spot. So look at that. Again, Taguchi just hitting his stride here in that Silvia S15 as he debuted that vehicle mid-season. And now Dean Kearney, Oracle Lighting, Achilles Tire, Dodge Viper. Let's see what you got. Again, happy belated birthday to Carnage. You can hear the turbo spooling up, blowing off, and blowing through the wind. Now, the smoke turns up. Into the third outer zone, good transition from him. Knocking over that front clip, but seemed like just a bit of a glance. We'll see. I have to assume that will be a small 2-point deduction for him, but still very exciting. I liked how smooth this run was for Dean.
Yeah, and Dean has had some of the most amazing individual runs that we've seen, especially into, oh wow, look at that, really dipping down. It almost looks like he might have beated a tire there, but it may have just been the way that the car was sitting. Wow, unbelievable, very smoky. An exciting run there from Dean Kearney, run number 2.
Dean on his first run had an 87. No, definitely didn't beat it. He's got plenty of tire there. Just, yeah, as you say, just very fun to watch. The turbocharged setup this year. Started things off heating up in Long Beach. Now here he is in Texas. You know, he spent quite a bit of time here in Texas. Had an event last weekend here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and an 87. So another driver duplicating run 1 score. And and he is one of them. So again, shout out to Matt Coffin. Sorry you couldn't be here, bud. Get better soon. Heal up. I don't even know if, again, Irwindale is just about a month away from now. Don't know if he's going to be ready to go, but you know who needs to be ready is Pat Gooden. Pat Gooden has an incomplete. He shredded that door off, but look, it's back on. It's buttoned up. Passionate Pat. Doing it for Donna, doing it for Dale. As Pat Gooden brings it into that final outer zone, and it looks like Gooden will be seeing competition. Hunkers down and gets it done. Pat Gooden.
Well, let's take a look here as Gooden snaps into that first outside zone, floats it out, back on throttle, just on the inside line there. And it'll leave a couple line points on the table, but very aggressive driving. You can see it's going to cost him a little bit. He missed that third outside zone and also the inside clip, but he's able to finish up a bit stronger there, hitting that final inside clip. You can see outside zone 2, he got into the beginning part of it, left a little bit early. And then right there on that third hash mark of the inside clip, getting the job done.
Yeah, it's exactly what he needed to do. So now we start things off with 7 incompletes. This will be definitely a score. Knock that down to 3. 3 incomplete runs only remaining, and I say that because we have 32 drivers. Will we have a bye run? Forrest Wang, Dio Shihara, and Ryan Turk. Strong contenders. I mean, shoot, they could win the event. So a 78 for Pat Gooden. Puts him into 27th position. I'm sure that's not exactly what he wanted, but he could breathe a sigh of relief, get it dialed, find out exactly where his sweet spot is. Ken Gooshie, get a 91 on his first run. And he comes in that first outer zone. Absolute billowing of smoke coming off the back end. Achilles tires. Riding the lightning right there. And brings around that final front clip run. He had a 91 in his first run. He's the first driver to get into the 90s on the run 1.
Yeah, Ken Gooshie, as we said in run number 1, he seems to really like this track. He said he loves the layout, and it looks like this time around, remember he had that little tiny flub there leaving outside zone 1, putting it together a bit better here in run number 2. Could have been a tiny bit deeper into outside zone 3, but the line is looking pretty incredible here after outside zone 3, and he finishes up strong, tight through that inside clip, and a great way to finish it off there for the gritty driver of Ken Gooshie.
Well, look at the big Haas inception right there. Screens on screens on screens on screens. As we wait for Ken Gooshie's score. Again, we will be taking a break after this, then we'll go into a little bit of practice. We also have an autograph session for the, oh, he does better with a 92, so just 1 point better. A 92 there for the Goosh. So again, our schedule will be, we have qualifying scheduled till 2:30 if we need that, but we will have autograph session, then after that Pro 2 practice, then going right into Pro 2 qualifying for the remaining drivers. Right now, Chelsea DeNova, he stepped up in a big way on his first run. He had a 92 on his first run. I have a feeling he's gonna air it out. He's gonna get nasty. Here we go. Say howdy, get rowdy. Throwing a massive amount of angle, pointed right at the judges, transitioning around, coming into that final outer zone. Sticks with it and brings it around, gaining some applause, even people on their feet getting hyped for Chelsea DeNova and that BC Racing Nitto Tire Ford Performance Mustang RTR, ready to rowdy.
Well, DeNova seems to do that to us at least once a year, right?
Yeah.
A big giant trick that he pulls out of that hat of his, and really phenomenal. I think the pace really slowed down a lot, though. Let's take a look at this. DeNova was definitely pushing forward here. Big angle on outside zone 3. Tries to connect at the inside clip, but couldn't quite get it all the way through. Nonetheless, a very exciting run for Chelsea DeNova as he was going for that #1 qualifying spot.
Look at this, Johnny FPV getting a great shot here. Let's see that big angle. I mean, he's pointed right at the judging stand, pointed right at us. He doesn't knock over the cone, transitions around. Obviously very stylish from Chelsea to Nofa, and feeling comfortable, feeling the flow. As Denofa waits for his score, he had a 92 on his first run. 12 drivers left, 12 runs remaining here in pro qualifying. Remember, tomorrow is game day for round 7 of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship. Today is remaining drivers for Pro 2 and the final round of the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. We will crown a Pro 2 champion. And there it is, an 89, so he does not better it. And we're saying line, angle, style, and yeah, Lantain, a 33 out of 40. You kind of had the most points kind of struck in.
Yeah, drivers meeting, we told them if they slow down in inside clip 1, we're going to take points off, and he slowed down there significantly. It's not something we want them to do. He knows that. He's just putting on a show, and I think he's very talented and skilled in his ability to do what he just did.
Right.
But it threw him off for his line later on, which also knocked him off a couple of points. So by doing that, sure, it looks great for the fans, but score-wise, it doesn't really help you out very much.
Yeah, and just to add to that, that gets very difficult to chase too. So that's the reason why. So to elaborate a little bit more, here we go. Forrest Wang. He currently has an incomplete. Forrest Wang comes now through the power alley. Remember, he got into the wall, so he's got to be a little bit nervous. The point of no return. Forrest Wang, keep it off the wall. And he does. The Achilles tires turn and burn, crossing the finish line. So Forrest Wang will be in the show, and I know he carries a lot of fans around the world. So Forrest Wang gets a score.
Well, predictably, he keeps it a little bit more conservative than we're used to. We know Forrest has got some big guns that he can pull out, especially at a course like this, but he just needed to get a score on the board. He pretty much checks all the boxes, all the major boxes here, so he'll have actually probably a nice score that he can work with. He will have to use that as his primary weapon in slotting into the top 32, since he will not have a backup for a tiebreaker potentially. But nonetheless, Forrest Wang will be in the show tomorrow.
Let's see what kind of results here on his second run of this yellow speed Achilles tire vehicle, Energy Innovations, and that Super Doof 2F Performance body kit. Taking a hit, strapped back on the nose of the S15, an 87. An 87 there for Forrest Wang. Yeah, right. Here in Lantain make the comment, 87 puts him in 14th place, just shows you how things have progressed here. Matt Field, he had an 86 on his first run. Falcon tires, Borla exhaust. I predict kind of a more aggressive run here from Matt Field, because that's what he's gonna need to do. Talked about that 87 and sitting in 14th. He wants to better that. He wants to get a high qualifying position, but there's a good opportunity to work out the bugs of his vehicle. Like a kind of a lift there, approaching that final front clip. Let's take a look at it again here, Ryan.
Well, just slightly missed time there towards the end, but leading up to that, a solid run for Matt Field. You could see how quickly he tried to get back on throttle before that first outside zone, drove a very consistent line, keeping the angle of those front wheels pretty consistent as well. Transitions to outside zone 3, making it look pretty good here, right on the inside of that first inside clip. Slight little e-brake pull there in that outside zone, and pushes a bit wide there towards that final section of the course. Let's take a look from above. You can see he does fill that second outside zone right in the middle of the third. I mean, you cannot get much closer than that to the first inside clip, so Matt Field should be pretty excited about that run. Just that one little mistake there towards the end that'll lop off a few points, but nonetheless, two good back-to-back runs for Field.
Matt Field's team down there got Ripper shaking it until he makes it, holding on to the heat wave. It's definitely hot out here, but as his team looks on, where does he land? When an 87, so just 1 point. So 86 to an 87 there for Field, and you could see 24, 28, 35. Now we get into top 10. Top 10 standings coming into this round of competition. Again, birthday boy, Justin Pollock, JTP, an 89 on his first run. So a lot of 80s. I'm sure he'd love to get into the 90s, because you can see our current leaderboard, James Dean with a 99. Look at that, top 3 currently Falcon Tire drivers. Past that front clip, bringing it into the final outer zone. Well executed there by Pollock with that 89 on his first run. Do you think that betters it?
I think it's going to be right there. I'm trying to think back to the first run where we saw some mistakes. I remember us talking about it in the context of the 100-point run, but look at how he just really gets deep into that first outside zone and continues into the second. So that part of the course looking solid. He gets right in the middle of the third outside zone. He may have been tighter on that inside clip, and he really obeys the decel zone here towards that final outside zone. So, I mean, in terms of checking the boxes, it looked really solid there. Just we'll have to see if the judges, especially the style judge, thought that it had the fluidity and commitment necessary to get up into those mid-90 scores. So JTP will move off course, and we'll wait for the score to drop.
So some really fun driving, man. Like I said, that I think this will just be very polarizing. You're going to see just drivers get out-powered, or they're just going to make some mistakes. But I think we're going to see some really close battles here going into both Pro 2. Oh, a 95! A 95 jumps up considerably. Again, Mr. Perfect, that being a nickname he gained earlier this year by scoring the first 100-point run in so many years. But man, here we go. Dai Yoshihara hitting the track. Now this is another driver that has an incomplete run. The Turn 14 Distribution Falcon Tire Subaru BRZ, the former champ, needs to put down a run here in order to see head-to-head competition. Transitions into that third outer zone. Ryan, he's looking spot on so far. Big angle there from Dai Yoshihara. Man, I don't know, that looked a little risky, to be honest, given that he needed to just stay on the road.
Yeah, I was expecting much more conservative from Dai there, but it looks like he really does feel confident, and that the first run was just an anomaly. You can see he's really maxing out the angle here in that second outside zone, which is really hard to do. And again, also in zone 3, but still smooth and consistent here. Nice transition there, obeys the decel zone, back on throttle as he's leaving that outside zone, and then he's right there on that first hash mark. So I think this is going to be an incredibly scored run for Daijiro Yoshihara. And look at just the quality of driving through that third outside zone, right up to the edge of the course, pretty much as deep as you can go for full points. So I think the judges will score this well, and it seems like some of his teammates, and as he goes through the pits, are congratulating him on a job well done.
There we go, a 93. Thank you very much. A 93. Right. I mean, again, the temperament. I was very surprised. I thought he would just chill out a little bit, but I guess, hey, if you're going to do it, sometimes that's when you make the mistakes. When you pedal back, sometimes you just need to go hard. So a few more drivers left. We have 8 more drivers. Michael Essa, speaking of 93, he has a 93. So I have a feeling he's going to push a little harder here just to test, his vehicle, make sure it's up to snuff. That's Autosports Achilles tire, BMW, right there on the razor's edge. Snappy into that third outside zone. Made a quick little correction to wrap it around that front clip, and now brings it across the finish line and past that final inside clip.
Well, the consistency from Essa in these 2 runs has really been on point. I'm not sure if it will be, I think it will be in the ballpark of his first run. He really is committed to these runs, and you can see from the onset, very deep into that zone. Look at the back wheels just blowing smoke through this second outside zone. Big angle there, but he could have been a little bit deeper, and then right there, it would have been a little bit cleaner transition had he got around that inside clip a little bit better. But then he's back on it, finishes up strong there. Remember, he had that 93 on that first run. Let's go on board. Beautifully done here coming through this center section, but you could see he could have been a little bit deeper into that second outside zone. But I mean, that is such a challenging part of the course. He's already got a 93, and we'll see what the judges award him here for run number 2, and certainly one to watch for tomorrow's competition.
And the Essa Autosports vehicle as Essa looks on, Waiting for the score. Is it better than a 93, his first run? And it is not. An 88 here on his second run, Ryan, as he finishes it out. 7 more drivers left on the line. The Monster Energy Nitto Tire Ford Performance Mustang RTR Spec 5D. The Von Gittin Jr. Hot Rod. Professional fun haver, Abby Gunner, and I know you're watching. Here we go. Send it. Von Gittin Jr. bouncing his way into that outside zone. Nitto tires, absolutely in fuego, transitioning into exploding that back bumper, like I said. Just those bumpers, front and back, getting absolutely shredded, and punts that final front clip. So kind of getting a little more aggressive there, Ryan. He does have a 91 on his first run.
Yeah, so he's in the 90s club here. Let's take a look. Here, a second look at that first outside zone. Well done there by Vaughn. Getting into this second outside zone. Pretty good job here. Let's take a look at those back wheels. He's right at the edge of the rumble strips there, so that should still get full points. The explosion of the cone, not going to have much of an issue there. The judges do allow them to get out to the rumble strips and use those cones as markers for them to look at as they fill that zone. But he does come up a little bit tight as he leaves outside zone 3 as he hits that final inside clip. Had to make a slight adjustment there, but it looks like Vaughn and his teammate Chelsea D'Onofrio, certainly some aggressive driving this weekend so far, and they look good for top 32 competition. Now, as Vaughn finishes up his second run, let's see what the judges think.
You can see that back bumper again, just absolutely abusing those things, going through them. The Fun Haver brand lifestyle. Vaughn getting on the box earlier this year. And an 88, so an 88 for him. The first run, the better of the two. Next up, Chris Forsberg. Getting the clipping points back up and running. Chris Forsberg sitting 6th, and Ryan, you mentioned it on the run 1. You said from this point on, sub 100 points from the leader.
Yeah, 77 points out before his qualifying position gets logged in here today, and then everybody else below Chris is sub that 77 all the way down to, we've already spoken about it, 1 point between Osmo and James Dean. So these are mathematically your championship contenders.
Chris Forsberg, NOS Energy Drink, Nissan 370Z initiates, lifting that front right tire, filling all of that outside zone, working it into the second outside zone. Let's see how it transitions through the Powell Alley into that third outside zone. Now approaching in that VR, that GTR engine under the hood, and around that final front clip and cross the finish line. Ryan, better than an 89, question mark?
Well, I think it's going to be right there. I think last time, comparably speaking, he was snapping some of his transitions a bit more, and that may have caused him to make a few mistakes. This time, he looks extremely settled, moves into the second outside zone. Watch this, it's still a good transition, but this time he gets into that zone a bit better there, I think, and also tighter on that inside clip. Uses the decel zone appropriately. Could have been a tiny bit deeper in that outside zone, but he may even get full points for that because it was still pretty deep. And he'll finish up his run tight on that final inside clip. So again, another run checking all the boxes. Just going to be about the style judge, how dynamic he thought it was a fluidity and commitment there in order to get him to bump up from that 89.
Yeah, talking with him yesterday, he said he really liked the track. He says this has just been the best Texas setup that he's ever seen. And, the judges kind of, as he said, they listened to him and said, 94, there you go. So this could fare very well for Forsberg. He says, again, they've always wanted this setup, and now it gets delivered, and you can see how it's reflected in the scores. Again, this is where the basically, where they land, but head-to-head is where it counts. The final one. This is it. Our final driver. It's do or die. Live free or die. The driver from New Hampshire in that gum-out Toyota Race Toyota 86, Ryan Turk. He needs to get a score here on the board. Again, he got that victory in New Jersey, past that outside zone into the third, approaching that front clip. He does punt it out of the way. That could be 2. Oh man, he was flirting with that, really kind of massaging it out to that outside zone, but he does keep between lines. little nervous there, a little nerve-wracking on that final outside zone, Ryan.
Well, not only that, let's watch the initiation and watch. It seems like he floated out very, very long after initiation. Float, 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 float. Now he's back on throttle. That's almost about maybe a quarter of the way through the zone. So, yeah, it did get scary there. It looks like it will be a scored run, but then you also pointed out, Jared, he center punched this inside clip. Now watch the front wheels right here.
That's what I'm saying. He corrected.
Woo!
That made me nervous. That's where it's like, oh, wrong way.
So, you know, unlike Dye that came out and actually we thought the opposite, that Dye might play a little bit conservative. He went big. Looks like Ryan, whatever was going on in his mind, how he wanted to take this approach, he did make some mistakes here. So it is going to have an impact on where he's going to slot into the top 32. And, of course, we have to remember that with that incomplete in run number 1, that will be the single score that he has to put himself into the top 32. So no tiebreaker for him.
All right, so looks like our final driver with an incomplete run will get a score, a 79. So scores fairly low, but that could maybe work out for him, you know, that position because of where, you know, figure James Dean over here, that could work out.
It could be good or really bad for him. Right?
Again, we bring this up because of, again, number 1 versus number 32, number 2,
Yeah,
so figure he would go against what? So 32, 31, 30, 29, he'd go against the number 4 qualifier.
Maybe that was part of his plan.
Yeah, maybe it's worked out. It's working out perfectly. Here we go. Odi Bakshis could very well go against Odi Bakshis, because right now it's Justin Pollock that he'd go against, but Odi Bakshis, a good approach there on that outside zone. And now transitioning through the power alley. Hammering down, looks like shredding some debris, gets all the way to the outside zone. And Odi had a 97 on his first run. Let's look at it again here, Ryan.
Well, he was the driver to beat until the next 2 drivers came up, and Odi almost mic dropped this qualifying, but now he's back on it. He's trying to back up that 97. Really, the thing that he needs to do is get a 99 or higher here to try and take that number 1 spot. That's what it's going to take in order to best James Dean in that current number 1 spot. Will that do it? It looks pretty solid here. Let's take a look at this third outside zone. Beautifully done by Odi. Seems so settled in the car, obeying the decel zone. Perfectly done in that final outside zone and tied on the inside clip. So 2 good runs back to back by Odi Bakshis, and now it's in the judges' hands to decide the fate of where he's going to be. We know he's going to be in the top 5, but will he move around based on this second score?
Definitely going to shake things up here, and as you said, Piotr Visek, he had a 97, but Odi had a perfect style score on his first run, so he would actually have the higher qualifying position, but we'll see what he backs the first 97 up with here on his second run.
Very interesting. Just thinking about this,
yeah,
we've
please.
got 3, let's see. So James has a 99, Frederick has an 87. That means that if James gets a 99 or lower, Osbo would need a perfect run to get a 100-point run.
And after, yeah, go ahead.
In order to maintain his lead in the championship right now.
Exactly. So after qualifying, pending on where Osbo lands, like you said, need a perfect run. That could shift the order of standings going into head-to-head tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That's exciting, man.
You hyped on that?
Who do you think's going to win?
I don't know.
I'd love to just throw those absolute parables out there. I mean, I know you already have the bracket completed.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, just thinking about everybody and just all the different podiums this year, the diversity has just been all over the place. And Odi patiently or impatiently waiting for his scores. Oh, weird flex, but okay, Aaron. A 94. So with that, currently sitting in 4th, Piotr Visek with that 97 in order to, get that qualified position.
Needs a 95 or higher here.
Yep. For
second place.
The Candyman. Here we go. And you can see Forsberg now jumping. All right, so Peter Visick there sitting in third. Bakshi sitting in second. Now transitioning into that second outer zone. Woo, baby. Really close. Oh! And Visick with an incomplete. He will hold that number 3 position, but he could get beat by Osbo. So an incomplete on his second run. You know what? He'd rather have that than going worse.
That actually makes things more interesting, because if Osbo was able to get number 1 or number 2, that would put Osbo and Dean on opposite ends of the bracket.
Osbo and Dean. Okay. Yeah.
So it just makes it, you know, not that they're both going to get to the finals, but from a probability standpoint, they often make it to close to the finals. This puts them on the opposite end of the bracket. So starting to get a little crazy out here.
Yeah, it could still get close because, again, I don't know where Osbo stands. We'll take a look at the leaderboard, but James Dean is up next. The only way he could better himself is by getting a perfect run, a 100-point run. But everybody, you know what's cool about Texas? We're not going to see a bye run.
Mm-hmm.
So even with James Dean, you know, getting number 1 spot a few times, he will not have a bye run in his first battle.
Right.
Which I think that makes it just that much more, you know, climactic.
But he will not be going up against Turk, because he can only get, right now the worst he can get is second place, because Osbo would have to beat him. Osbo would need 100 in order to knock him down to second place.
Oh, yeah.
And Turk is going to be facing 4th place right now as it stands.
Right now.
Yeah.
But Osbo could change things up a little bit.
He could.
Pro 2 overall, you know, we have our remaining Pro 2 drivers in qualifying, and hey, in Pro 2 qualifying, Ryan, over here, Pro 2, we have our remaining qualifying drivers. How many licenses are given out from Pro 2 to compete in the 2020?
Well, as we take a look at the schedule here, what you're seeing is the remaining qualified drivers, which is about 20 or so, that are going to be finishing up their second qualifying runs, and then that'll put us into top 16 for tonight at 7:45. From that, there are 8 drivers that are available to take their license to pro if they so choose to. They don't have to. They could stick around. They could continue to build their programs. For many drivers, that may be the best option to continue to develop themselves in Pro 2. But some drivers do want to move up. Sometimes in the silly season, in the off season, you see teams that maybe lose a driver looking for somebody to come up. New sponsor comes on board. Guy wants to, a team or an individual driver wants to expand their team to more than one driver, as we saw with quite a few teams over the past few years.
Yeah.
You have those guys that have the ability to move up into the pro class.
Yeah, that was the answer I was looking for. But yeah, the schedule there for remaining for Pro 2, definitely going to be exciting. And again, we will take a break after this, but we have 2 more drivers left, and notably the serious contenders here for the championship, 1 and 2, but that could very well shift, like the weather here in Texas. But not say that just yet. But again, coming into this week, we saw signs of potentially some rain, but now it doesn't seem that. But we'll find out. On the line, James Dean, as we finish up putting the tires back at the correct spot, as Peter Visick, the Candyman, gets into the wall. And James Dean, Wordhouse Drift Team, Falcon Tires, Nissan S15. And we are moments away. Clear to start, here we go. James Dean, 2-time and defending FD champion. 2018, 2017, can he do it again here in 2019? Wow, look at that. You know he's going for it right now. He wants to hold on to that spot, riding the line, transitions past that third outside zone. Oh man, just glancing, almost scaring it over as James the Machine Dean brings it on home. Can he better himself and get a 99 and a 100? We saw a 100-point run earlier this year. Ryan, I mean, let's scrutinize this.
Well,
where did you see a flaw?
Look, I mean, the one thing I just want to point out with Justin's 100 was it really had an X factor feel to it. This is an incredible run from James. And does it have that X factor to you? Does it have that? When Chelsea came around through that big angle there, had he pulled it off, something along those lines. That's one of the things that Pollock did. Now, I think this certainly could contend. We know that he only left 1 point on the table, and maybe that was enough to move it in the direction for Ryan Lantane. But it's going to be right there. It's going to be right there.
Again, that X factor. Do you go 101? I mean, when you talk about ticking the boxes and what happens here, I mean, that was an amazing, one of the most chaseable runs out there. 100 points! 100 points. It's a perfect run 2 times this year. And none of these guys wanted to be that one. So look at that, Ryan. A near perfect, not 1, but 2 runs. And he gets, 199 points, 200 available. Absolutely incredible run.
Yeah, now that means with regards to Frederick Osbo, even if he got a 100-point run here, he is going to at least be tied with James going into, because I think it's a 2-point or 1-point difference in qualifying from 1 to 2. So it's basically going to be tied championship going into top 32.
Well, it definitely can't be second because Odie's got a 97 and 94.
Well, he could get 100.
But he could get a 98, and because Visick has a 0. So if he got a 98, he could slide into 3rd. But right now, Frederick Osbo trying to do everything he can to really stay close, and basically, let's call it his points draft off of James Dean. We're not right. Did I just come up with a creative term there? But he's basically, he's throwing it in here. But a great run there by the Norwegian Hammer.
Well, let's take a look at Osbo's second run here. I think this is an improvement on the first run. No question about that. He's trying to get up mid to high 90s. You already kind of stated what he needs. It's roughly about a 98 to get into second place. And he does look solid here. No major mistakes, no minor mistakes from Frederick Osbo.
Yeah, great.
Laying down what we typically see from him, backed it up very strongly there. Now it's in the hands of the judges to give us the official result. And this result right here will dictate either he's going to be on the same side of the bracket with James Dean, or he's not going to be on the same side of the bracket with James Dean, which means that if they were to meet on the same side of the bracket, it would have much bigger implications.
Local time is 2:20, so that means in just about an hour and 10 minutes, Pro 2 remaining qualifiers. We have about 20 drivers left remaining for Pro 2 qualifying, and then Pro 2 head-to-head is going live around the world. You can see there at 7:45 local time. So our final driver here, a 92, puts him into 11th. Ryan, I'd love to see the bracket where he would end up. Again, we'll see that tomorrow. Head-to-head, the Advanced Auto Parts Showdown presented by Rain X. So he does not get into that top 5 spot, but guess what? Our number 1 qualifier had a 99 on his first run, and then on his second run delivers a 100-point perfect score. On behalf of Ryan Sage, our judges Brian Egger, Andy Yen, and Ryan Lantane, I'm Jared Deanna. We'll see you here in just about an hour and 10 minutes for Pro 2 qualifying remaining drivers, 7:45 for Pro 2 head-to-head. Send it. We'll see you online, and we'll see you in just a little bit here at Texas Motor Speedway.